Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Xolile and I am back with yet another true crime case. Let's dive right into it. Now in today's case, we'll be sharing the story of Xolile Khumalo, who was born in the year 1997 in KwaZulu-Natal to parents Princess and Comfort Khumalo. Now, Zolile was the last of 7 kids. However, during the course of them growing up, she unfortunately lost 5 of her siblings. This meant that the family, grew to become tight-knit because they knew the pain of a loss. And because she was the last one, she was the baby of the family, and her family just adored her. Now in 2016, Zolile then matriculated, and this is when her quest for looking for a university then started. And because her parents were in their old age, she decided that she didn't want to study too far away and would rather go to a university that is also still in KwaZulu-Natal. Now Zolile aspired to be a quantity surveyor, but because she did not meet the minimum requirements to join that course in university, she then decided to go for a bridging course. Now, for those of you who are unaware of what a bridging course is a preparation course that helps students meet the academic requirements for admission into an undergraduate degree. These courses are designed to bridge the gap between what you know and what you need to know before starting a specific degree program. Now, because Zolile really wanted this qualification, she didn't mind spending that extra year to complete the bridging course, and this is when she then enrolled to Mangosuthu University of Technology in the year 2017. Now, Zolile made friends instantly because of her bubbly and loving personality. Her friends often called her Babes Wodumo, which is a South African celebrity who is known for her dance moves. And she was called Babes Wodumo because she herself enjoyed dancing. Now, as Zolile's schooling career went on, she then met a man who went by the name of Thabani Mzolo, who was 2 years older than her, making him 23 years old at the time. Now, Thabani was an orphan and he was taken in by a family after he had completed his high schooling with excellent results, and that family was to fund his tertiary education. Now, at the time that the two had met, Thabani had actually just graduated but still stayed in an apartment that was close to the university, and because at the time he was still unemployed and had not found a job just after graduating, he would still go on to the university campus to often visit his friends. Now, the two formed an instant connection and were oftentimes found together on campus, and on the weekends they would then go to the beach, they would go to expensive restaurants, and they would also frequent beachfront hotels. Now, Zolile's friends often wondered how it was that Thabani had all this money, to basically take Zolile on all these dates, especially as someone who was known to be unemployed. But Zolile would often tell her friends that no, Thabani was actually from a very wealthy family. Now, it is alleged, however, that Thabani actually made his money through dodgy dealings, and in one instance there was actually a picture of the couple that was released where they're both basically holding assault rifles, and so because Zolile in that picture is also seen to be holding an assault rifle, it is then alleged that she actually knew how it was that he was really making his money, or rather the dealings that he was involved in. Now, the relationship seemed to be going well. However, over the course of time, Zolile's friends then started to notice bruises on her and would often ask her about them, and at first she wasn't really forthcoming with the information. However, apparently as time went on, she did open up and let her friends know that Thabani was physically abusive. Now, it was alleged that Thabani was very insecure, he was possessive, he was abusive, and oftentimes the couple would actually break up, but Thabani would let Zolile know that he would change his ways, and so many times she would then often take him back. Now, December then came around and students are known to go back home to their families, and so Zolile was then able to go back home and to basically visit her family, to see her parents, of which she obviously enjoyed the December time. But January 2018 then came around and Zolile was back at school, and so upon her going back at school, she also did change her place of residence, and she then found a residence that was at the beachfront. Now, Zolile and Thabani's relationship then kicked back off again, and oftentimes when Zolile was asked why it was that she wouldn't break up with Thabani, she would often quote "Sofa Slahlane," which directly translates to "until death do us apart." Now, April 2018 came around and the relationship was not getting any better. If anything, Thabani had become more controlling. He would want to know about her whereabouts. He had actually set a rule that she was not allowed to study outside of her residence. And so at this point, Zolile had had more than enough. Now, on the 29th of April 2018, Zolile then asked to meet up with Thabani. Upon them meeting up, she then broke up with him and said that she just can't continue to live like this or have a relationship like this with him, and so she would like to terminate the relationship. However, it didn't seem that Thabani took it as seriously. With couples, especially oftentimes if you're constantly breaking up, one of the parties or one of the people in the relationship will never really take it as seriously as the other person. And so that's exactly what happened. Thabani just did not take her seriously. Now, Thabani had stated that Zolile would not be going anywhere. However, she was very adamant that the relationship was over. And so then she decided to go back home. And upon arriving at her residence, she then texted her friend, telling her friend that she was very happy that her and Thabani were officially over. Now, Zolile's friend didn't really buy the story or buy the fact that, this relationship was over. And Zolile's friend was actually quite concerned. And she actually stated in that WhatsApp message that soon they would actually bury Zolile if things continued to go the way that they were. And Zolile really was just, very lighthearted about the whole situation. And she basically was like, no, don't say things like that, and basically also inserted laughing emojis in that text. Now, Thabani had previously actually told Zolile that if she were to ever end things, that he would end her life. And so as much as she didn't really want to take this seriously, I think a part of her kind of knew obviously the lifestyle that Thabani had. And so she would make it a point to avoid all types of contact with him. She wouldn't take his phone call or answer his texts, and she spent most of her time in her residence. Now, on the 1st of May in 2018, Thabani then decided to go to Zolile's residence with a firearm in his backpack. Now, because Thabani was not a resident at that apartment building, he would need for a friend or someone else to sign him in, and that's how he'd be able to gain entry. He then decided to contact one of his friends who he knew stayed at the residence, and so then the friend basically came downstairs, signed him in. They then went to the friend's dormitory and basically just hung out for some time. Now, Thabani's friend who signed him in later did testify that Thabani was very honest and did tell him that him and Zolile had broken up, but that he was basically here, to make things right, and that he actually had a surprise for her as well in his backpack. And because he wanted the surprise to go perfectly well, to be able to get his girlfriend back, he then requested that the friend goes to Zolile's room and basically checks if she's there, and then would come back and tell Thabani whether or not Zolile is in her room. And Thabani apparently asked the friend to do this so that by the time Thabani would go to Zolile's room, he is certain that she's in her room and is then able to carry out the surprise. Now, the plan was that Thabani's friend would go to Zolile's room, he would knock, and if Zolile was there, he would then say to Zolile that he was actually there to collect Thabani's t-shirt. And so the plan went accordingly, and so Thabani's friend did tell Zolile, hey, I'm here to pick up Thabani's shirt. Zolile was like, oh no problem, let me just get the shirt for you. Thabani's friend, however, did say that no, you know what, actually I forgot, there's something that I need to do, but I'll be back to collect the shirt. And so then Thabani's friend then went back to the room and alerted Thabani, or rather told Thabani, that Zolile was indeed in her bedroom. Now, at about 10 p.m., Thabani and his friend then decided to go to Zolile's room. They obviously then knocked, and Zolile was the one that answered the door. She was, though, very, very surprised to see Thabani there, because she was just expecting that Thabani's friend had actually came back to collect the t-shirt. And so then Zolile was surprised, and Zolile's roommate, however, was also in the room as well and bared witness to everything that was about to happen. Now, Zolile then left the door open and decided to walk to her study desk. Upon getting to her study desk, it is alleged that she actually did greet Thabani and refer to him as baby, but he said that she shouldn't refer to him as baby, but rather to refer to him as a dog, because that's all that he's been doing. He's been sniffing and searching for her everywhere, basically just as a dog would. Now, Tabani reminded Zolile of her words being Sofas Lahlane, and that he said that today would be the day then that death would set them apart. And so he then pulled out the firearm, and upon Zolile seeing the firearm, she then basically started to plead with him, asking what it was that she had done, how it is that she can fix it, and, just basically begging for her life. Now, as it was that Zolile was still pleading for her life, she then, in the course of everything that was happening, ended up sitting on the bed alongside her roommate. Tabani then went and sat at the study desk where Zolile was previously seated. And at this point, she's still continuing to apologize and to basically just plead for her life. Tabani apparently also did, instruct Zolile to give him a kiss as well before it was that he was going to kill her. Now, Zolile's roommate states that while all of this was happening, she decided to get off from the bed and go and stand by the window because things were getting a little too heated, and she was right. Things did get out of hand because Tabani then fired one shot into Zolile's chest. She then fell into the ground. It is alleged that he then lifted her by the neck, fired a shot into her head, and then he proceeded to kick her body. Now, upon my research, there were mixed reports as to what happened next. Some reports state that Tabani was found at the scene with the firearm. Obviously, when the shots were fired and stuff like that, there are security in the building, and so then the police were called. So some reports state that Tabani fled the scene, but some reports state that Tabani was found at the scene with the unlicensed firearm. Now, news broke, and the students at Zolile's campus were just outraged at the news, and this is when an official investigation also was underway. Now, because of the uncertainty that I had previously stated about not knowing whether or not Tabani was found at the scene or whether or not he had fled the scene, this kind of also comes into that because it was stated that Tabani had actually posted on Facebook, and on Facebook he had basically said that this is so surreal, I wish I could bring her back so that we can right our wrong. Now she left before I could tell her that I forgive her. And so after he had posted this, one of the people on Facebook are seen saying basically asking what happened, and then he then stated that he took Zolile's life. Court proceedings then began, and oftentimes students were found outside the courtroom as well, marching, and it is stated that Tabani's behavior during all of this was very outrageous, as oftentimes he would pull out his middle finger to the media. Tabani also did abandon bail, and the state also was able to pull out a phone recording where it is that Tabani had stated that he had basically killed Zolile because she was disrespectful. Now, Tabani's lawyer argued that Tabani definitely did love Zolile, that he had intentions of marrying her, and that he was a young person who had a lot to offer his community, that he was a father of one, he was intelligent, and that, he had given back to his community by helping grade 12 pupils at his school register for university. 2 years later, Tabani was then found guilty, and he was granted a life sentence with an additional 25 years for unlicensed firearms. A memorial fountain was then also placed at Zolile's residence in honor of her memory. Now, guys, that's the story of Xolile Khumalo. Let me know in the comments what you think about the case. Let me know what other stories you would love for me to cover. I'll see you next time. Stay kind. Bye.